First up, we have Discord user Abyss, who has kindly offered up his PoB for me to roast. Right off the bat, I do see some issues with the skill tree. Zooming in here, this is some really messy clusters you've got going on. So you are looking to get Overshock, I believe, is filler node, and you're going for Storm Rider for the crit chance, I would assume. However, you chose to use a 9 passive cluster with only 2 skills on it, and this is extremely inefficient. We're using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're using 8 passive points to simply get 2 nodes and 2 jewels. And if you look at a better example of a good cluster jewel, you will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to get the same thing. So while this guy is level 91, you could say realistically he's level 88 because he's crippling himself with this jewel. So let's actually go on to trade and see how much it would cost to get a proper jewel that still gives him Storm Rider. So on the playlist, I do have a cluster jewel video. And we can just go into the description for, cheap large cluster. Let's look for that. And he wants to have the crit chance, so we are going to make sure we give him crit chance. So top, we are looking for everything up here. We're looking for Storm Rider, and this is a bunch of good mods. We're going to try and actually get 3 mods, make this even better than what he has. So we have one. This is a little bit cheaper than a div. Let's see how many there are. These all have Storm Rider plus 2 other decent ones. Oh, shouldn't show offline. So it quickly scales up to 1.5 div, and then it goes to 2 div and 3 div. There's not too many. Although technically speaking, we could just aim for 2. And if you want, it's 5 is 5 chaos. Very, very cheap. But let's put in the one for 170C because, I think it'll be worth it. I'm going to add this cluster in. And take off this terrible cluster. His damage goes up a little bit. And it'll be even better like this. Yeah, he has more damage. He is getting Storm Rider down here. Disorienting display is not too great. Well, the 25 LE damage is worth taking if you grab this and it's not at the end. However, chance to blind doesn't matter unless we're evasion based, and we're not evasion based. Snowstorm is a pretty good DPS boost though. It's nice to have this. This is a much better cluster. And again, we're using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're using 7 points instead of 8. And we are getting 3 notables and a lot more damage. So this would be a really important upgrade to make. And you could do the same thing with the medium clusters. You see he's using 6 passive skills. If you have one with 5, it'll look like this, and it'll only take 4 nodes instead of 5 nodes. So you just get a point back here. So you get a cluster like this. You get a 5 or 4 passive medium cluster. There you go. You've just saved 2 points. You can get that much closer to getting your next medium cluster filled out. And again, this one goes without saying. Should not be 6 passive. You should go for 5. The rest of the tree, though, it looks solid. I don't have anything to say about this. Looks very nice. You are missing a jewel socket, although I believe the user was saying he had just recently bought the Aegis. So I assume he had a timeless jewel here, which is why this is unspec'd. Again, speccing this, ton of damage. And now you have a free jewel socket. Put whatever you want in there. All right, let's go into the config. You are getting endurance charges because I saw you had the small enduring composure. So that's going to beef you up a little bit. Let's set this to a boss so the EHP pool is a little bit more meaningful. Enemies should be on consecrated ground because we are using zealotry, I assume. If you're following the guide. All these gem links look good. Yeah, we have zealotry. This is pretty good damage. Let's look through the items. Pretty good budget wand. You got the Aegis with very high spell block. We'll want to work on getting higher regular block, but you know, that's something to strive for. You can get that with Watcher's Eye. There's also some tech to path through here with a red nightmare, although that is a lot of skill points. You'll have to weigh the ups and downs of that, depending on how tanky you want to be. Again, we want to work towards a DPS body armor. That's going to be a big upgrade. So, you know, down the line, use the crafting guide for frenzy charge and base crit. But we're not there yet, obviously. It looks like most of the stuff is budget aside from the Aegis. So we're going for a more defensive upgrade route. Just, yeah, let's quickly go through this. Everything's pretty normal. Flasks are a big thing players will screw up. I can see there is a mistake here already. You have 2 granite flasks. The flask bases don't stack, so you always want to have 5 different bases. You've got the roomies, which is great, which means we want to replace granite with something else. I do like the suffix on here, though, increased armor during effect, so you're going to want to try and get that on a different base if possible. A quick rundown of the gems. They do seem to be similar to the ones I'm using. I don't see any issues with gem choices. I do like how we see quality on the spark. This is, in my opinion, the most important quality to get. That gives us projectile speed. However, at some point you will want to flip your gems, so you'll have quality on everything. The one exception being your auras. Auras you can just vol and hope they go up in level. That would be ideal there. Overall, though, good looking build. We want to fix chaos res that you're probably dying mostly to chaos hits. You can fix that with Ziri's Promise maybe. And later on, you can drop a Ziri's Promise for, you know, some rare gear that has chaos res on that. But again, chaos res on good pieces of gear is fairly expensive. So don't necessarily expect you to have that this early on. Next up is Twitch sub Not That Easy, who has admitted he has not had a lot of time to play. He's only level 92. Therefore, he is not going to have too many gear upgrades. So let's keep that in mind within the context of this PoB review. All right off the bat, he is starting to dabble into the clusters. He has Overshock, you know, just a generic node. Widespread Destruction, this is not great. The area of effect doesn't matter. It's only 20% increased LE damage. It's unfortunate this isn't at the end, because if this was at the end, you would just ignore it. However, he's going for Thunderstruck to have knockback, so he's going to have to path through it. I mean, it's worth 1 point. It's fine. This is fine. This is a good budget cluster. We've got a good medium cluster as well. Looks like you're going to be able to grab this soon, and then you're going to be able to get a rare jewel socket into there. What else do we have? You don't have any corrupted blood immunity on your jewels yet, so maybe in a couple levels you can pick up a rare jewel. Look for a couple damage mods on it. Also, corrupted blood immune. Shouldn't be too expensive. As for the tree, looks good. You're overcapped on your res. The chaos res is really low, and you're going to be dying with negative chaos res. I understand on a budget, it's okay to be dying a little bit, and chaos res is something, you know, you can omit just simply because it's expensive. It's expensive to get chaos res on gear, so you will be dying if you have negative chaos res. But, you know, on a league start sometimes, it just be like that. These points are inefficient. He doesn't need them for resistances. However, we do need it to cap the dex. So it's okay to keep those on for now, but we're going to want to take these off as soon as possible. However, this tree overall looks very good. I don't see any issues at all with this tree. Very nice spell block for on a budget, and good attack block as well, considering you're not using an Aegis. An Aegis gives a lot of attack block. So overall, I think this is very well rounded. Again, 24,000 armor. Good damage, although we haven't looked at the config yet. I'm assuming the config is set up properly. This looks very good for a budget character. I would say this PoB is something, uh, it's something that I'd probably recommend for new players to look at, actually. Because there are no expensive upgrades as far as I can tell. We don't have the DPS body armor yet. We don't have the defensive Aegis yet. And we actually do have a pretty good weapon. He has +1 lightning skill gems. It looks like he was essence spamming spell damage, and he also got lightning damage to spells, which is good. And he lucked out getting a tiny little bit of crit chance. Doesn't matter too much. Crafted cast speed. Very nice budget wand. I assume he was using the budget wand crafting guide, or maybe he just bought this off trade from someone who was crafting a budget wand. We're using a shield. There's a good damage shield. You got +1 level to your spark. That's about it though. But I mean, on a budget, you know, that's what you work with. It's probably like a 2 to 5 C shield. You got the trigger helmet. That's going to provide a lot of damage. Again, just a budget body armor. Gloves. He's getting his lightning leech off the gloves, which is nice. That's handy to have. Just a budget pair. Everything is just very budget here. I think any new player could get these pieces of gear probably under 10 chaos each, except obviously the 6th link would be more. And they, as you can see, he has very good everything except for chaos res. And I didn't have good chaos res either on league start, so making some good decisions here. Again, if you have a build like this, you should just follow the playlist here, because we talk about how to slowly piece together some more expensive pieces into the mix as we go through the playlist, but this is a very good start. Now for the flasks, I think a lot of new players do have trouble with flasks. We'll see his flasks. So he's getting corrupted blood immunity here, so I guess technically he doesn't need to get one on a jewel yet. We're getting cast speed from the silver flasks, good damage buff. Now he's using Rot Gut, Quicksilver, which takes away frenzy charges for onslaught. Are we getting frenzy charges? Because the expensive way is to get frenzy charges on the body armor, and that would work there, but no, he's not getting frenzy charges from his skills. So I think you would want to replace the Quicksilver with a rare Quicksilver, or sorry, with just like a normal Quicksilver, so you could get a better suffix than this. You do have the armor suffix here, which is great. But just having one extra suffix, you know, what would you go? You have cast speed, you have armor. You could get the crit chance, although your crit chance is actually looking good right now. Eventually, as you upgrade though, you will want to take off increased critical strike support. And in that case, again, the suffix for critical strikes will become more important. This looks good. You got good gem links. They're all quality 20. For newer players, make sure you flip your gems. Spark quality 20 is way, way, way better than Spark quality 0. So this is looking great. Got the steel skin on left click. Again, another way to take bleeds away. Yeah, I can't find too much issues here. He has a cast on death portal. When he fixes the chaos res, you probably will be able to take this off, because I assume all his deaths are because really bad chaos res. Struggling to find problems with this. Very well balanced. Yeah, I don't know. This guy knows what he's doing. He just hasn't played a lot. Very small nitpicks. Overall, this is a good example of how you can get by with very low investment and still have a powerful, relatively well-balanced character. Again, you know, not the perfect defenses, but that will be fixed with investment. I'm sure this guy will eventually be able to get some chaos res. when we can spend a little bit more money on the rare pieces of gear. All right, let's wrap this up with level 97 Templar provided by Twitch sub Protex. And right off the bat, I can tell this is not set up correctly, so we're gonna go through the config quickly and clean it up. Hopefully he's using frost shield, so we're gonna add that. I assume since he's 97, he has killed Alira, or sorry, he's helped Alira. The tree, he's getting endurance charges. And this should be set to Guardian Pinnacle Boss. There might be some more things to change, but this should... Oh, enemies on Consecrated Ground, yes. And are we on Consecrated Ground? Yes, assuming... Well, this would be assuming he has Zealotry, so we're going to have to check that out, but he probably has it. You can check the flasks, because we are a mapper, so the flask should be up most of the time. Oh, you're up to 1 million. Mana cost of 9. Decent armor. Now you are using Aegis. I would preferably like to have more armor than 25,000. I'd go for like 30 at least. So we'll try and look for ways to get armor on the build. Chaos Res, it's positive. However, you are using Aziri's Promise. And there are better flasks than that. So it'd be nice to get some Chaos Res on your gear if possible. We do want to be positive Chaos Res. It is good that you're using the Aziri's Promise since you were negative. That is a good thing. Let's quickly inspect the tree. The tree looks okay. I would say at a glance, the one thing I would change would be I'd grab this life node here and I would take off these nodes. I just take these early on because it's a bunch of res, strength, and dex. You need that early. It looks like you have enough dex to cast Sniper's Mark. You don't need too much. Your strength is a little bit low for your intelligence. Let's look at your skills. These skills look good. You have a lot of crit chance. That's good. These are good. I like what you're using here. Let's make sure you're using the correct mastery. Yeah, you got +1 intensity. Is this calibrated correctly? No, it's not. All right, so you're actually at like 2 mil damage. All right, this is quite a good amount of damage. What are these items looking like? Decent wand. It's not perfect, but it is very good. Aegis, very nice. Helmet, you no longer have the trigger on the helmet, so it means you are casting Frost Shield by yourself, and that's fine. Once we graduate far enough, we can drop Sigil Power, drop Tornado if you want. I don't know if you're really at that stage yet, but you chose to do so, and I trust you on that. The body armor, you do have the DPS body armor. Now, I would say your spell block and block chance are too low for Aegis Aurora, so you can actually get a lot of that on the body armor. Let's go to body armor and so your prefixes right now are increased armor, evasion, energy shield, maximum life, and crafted life. I think a big beginner mistake is prioritizing life over attack block and spell block. So let's switch this one to crafted attack block. I'm just going to pull this from my PoB. Doom Shell, where's Doom Shell? Craft, or we can copy attack block over. So adding attack block right away raises the effective HP pool. Now you have quite a bit of both, although you might even, this is simply just crafting on a different craft. But you could also re-roll, take off the 100 life for spell block. Let's just simulate that to see what would happen. Again, not saying you have to do this, but I just want to prove how strong attack and spell block are. Take off the life for spell block. And it does, you do go up. Like, just being able to very consistently have the Aegis proc will make our defenses feel much, much stronger. So I would prioritize getting spell block and attack block, and the easiest way would be to do Wild Matron Beast and hit it with a Veiled Chaos. Try and get the attack block or spell block on the Unveil, and then you can craft the other one. That is something I would do personally. And you have a lot of extra lightning res, so you might want to think about just finding a piece of gear that has that doesn't have chaos res and selling it and buying a piece of gear that has chaos res. You can always use harvest to swap lightning to whatever res you're missing. Like here you have 44 lightning res. You could do harvest lightning to fire, change this to fire res if you wanted. You have enough wiggle room here to fix your reses even if you lose some res for chaos res. Looking through the flasks. Bottle's Faith is great. Rumi's is great. Quicksilver with reduced mana costs. Oh, I assume this is probably how you're casting your Wrath. I'm not too sure. That's okay. Increased critical strike chance on Silver Flask. I would actually, like, if you lose this crit chance, you're still at 97. And you could craft on 55% increased armor. It would really buff up your armor value. Here, we can actually just do that. Or I can just add 55% armor. 55% increased armor. Now you're going to go up to 31,000. It's going to feel a lot better. So that's something you should consider, getting the armor suffix on the flask. Oh, you are using Conviction of Power. Nice. So that is giving you a lot of crit chance and endurance charges. Oh, okay. So you actually have a mistake here. If you're using Conviction of Power, this gives you endurance charges and power charges, which means you no longer need Enduring Composure. This also gives you endurance charges. They don't stack. So this is wasted, which is good news because you actually have 3 points you can do anything you want with. So that was a mistake I found. A very good one. Overall, though, yeah, I would say just work on your chaos res. You can eventually work towards crafting that perfect wand craft on the playlist. And, you know, I've given you some solutions for armor. I've given you some solutions for block and spell block. Overall, a very good build. And with these improvements, I think it'll feel much better. All right, that's going to wrap up this video. Hope you're able to learn a thing or two. It's a shame we weren't able to find any truly horrible PoBs, but that might have been partially from selection bias because I didn't want to publicly ask, as there'd be no fair way to choose who to use. So I simply looked on Discord, saw who was chatting, who was active at the moment, tried to grab a PoB from player who had played a lot, player who didn't play too much. And I guess, you know, people who are active in the community, generally they're sharing their ideas. They have a good idea on how to scale. So, you know, we ended up with 3 pretty well made PoBs. We were still able to nitpick, find some mistakes, and I'm sure there is something in there for everybody. All right, I'll link their PoBs in the description if you want to take a look at their characters yourself. As for me, I should be live on Twitch after this goes up, so look forward to seeing you there. Have a nice one.